It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege of interviewing the Meredith tennis coach, Coach Eric Douglas and Olga Shvetsova. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
Good, yeah.
I'm doing good. Can y'all talk about how y'all knew that y'all wanted to get started in coaching in college tennis?
Well, how I came to Meredith is the tennis coach a year ago resigned somewhat abruptly, and Jackie Myers, who's the athletic director at the time, reached out to me and asked if I'd step in and just kind of help the team get through the season. And part of our story for me and Olga is when I accepted that job, I also knew it would be smart to have someone that could maybe relate to the girls a little better than I could as kind of dad role. And Olga and I were coaching together at Cary Tennis Park. So I talked to her about it and she got excited about it. And that's how we kind of embarked on this journey together. But I'll let you talk to kind of your perspective of it.
For me, I never really imagined coaching tennis, to be honest with you. I mean, I played in high school, I played in college, and I kind of thought that would be it. And I took a tennis coaching job when I was 19, and it was just sort of a part-time tennis camp sort of, job to make some extra money. And then the more I did it, the more I realized that I liked it, and I got professionally certified. And then Eric asked me to join him at Meredith, and I was, like you said, I was really excited for the opportunity, and I loved every minute of it.
Of course, for you, Coach Douglas, what was that experience like going through college and playing tennis?
I'm going to turn up the volume. Can you hit us with that again?
What was that experience like for you going through college and playing tennis?
Well, we both had similar experiences in that we played D3. And so I think we can bring a lot of that experience to the Meredith team because it's D3. But I had somewhat of a different journey in that I was a fairly highly ranked junior player, but didn't get the offers I wanted. So I went down to University of Florida thinking I could walk on to the team. And I did. I did get a place offered for me. But I realized I was not even close to breaking into the top 6. My job was just to practice against the top guys. And that really isn't what I wanted. So I was able to kind of quell my ego a little bit and transfer to a D3 up in Illinois, Principia College, and had a great experience. We went to the NCAA tournament. We were nationally ranked. And I don't think I would have ever experienced that had I tried to stick it out at the D1 level. And one thing about tennis and golf, I'll say, the beauty of those sports is right where you are on the food chain. You can't fake it. Unlike maybe if you're on a basketball team or a football team, you either win or you don't. It's up to you. So the fact I wasn't cutting it at D1, by going to a D3, I was able to play, be competitive, have a great experience. But I'll let Olga speak to her.
Yeah, so I had the hopes of going Division I as well, but I kind of realized maybe by freshman or sophomore year of high school that I, wasn't quite where I wanted to be, and I was pretty heavily injured as well, so it was kind of getting tough to practice and train a lot of the time, and so that's why I opted to go Division III. And it was a school that I was looking at academically anyway, and so it kind of just happened that I was able to play tennis and go there for the academics, and I really enjoyed my time there.
Of course, Coach Douglas, what was that experience like getting to go to London and teaching in tennis?
Well, is that for either of us to take?
No, that's
Okay. So I had a little bit different route as well from Olga. I moved to Europe after graduating from college, again, thinking I was a better tennis player. Something about tennis players, I think we're all delusional. And so I went to Europe thinking I might be able to play on what's known as the satellite circuit. It's kind of the double A of baseball, if you will, but for tennis. And found a sponsor living in London that backed me for a little bit. But again, same thing. I just wasn't quite cutting it. So I took a teaching job at one of the few, which is shocking for London, but one of the few indoor tennis facilities in London. And it happened to be, the club was called David Lloyd's. Well, David's brother, John, was a top 20 player, but he also, at the time, had just gotten married to Chris Evert, who was #1 in the world. So just by kind of right place, right time, I became a hitting partner with Chris Evert when she was #1 in the world. And so happened that one of my closest friends was Martina Navratilova's coach. So I had a kind of a fun experience with that, kind of circulating around the pro circuit, if you will, and being able to go to Wimbledon with a player's pass or a coach's pass, and doing fun things like that. But from there, I moved to Los Angeles and taught for a year or two, kind of the private homes in Beverly Hills, but realized that wasn't a path I wanted to. And through that, got into the career that I have for most of my life in the music industry and entertainment industry. And it's only pretty much when the pandemic hit that I kind of got back into teaching tennis again. And then this opportunity came up with Meredith, and I've been really, it's really been a fun experience. But Olga, I know you had a different experience.
With what?
With teaching.
With teaching and
Yeah, and how that came about.
Yeah, unfortunately I did not teach in London or Paris or anywhere else. But yeah, I mean, like I previously mentioned, it was just I have a younger sister that's 11 years younger than me. And so, when I was about 15 and she was about 4, I would just kind of start going out with her. And then, some of my parents' friends, they were like, oh, maybe you can do like little tennis camps for the little kids and stuff. And then, yeah, just slowly, it was always meant to be just a little summer hobby, part-time thing. And then, like I said, I fell in love with it, and I wanted to keep going and going and going. And
then you got your USPTA certification.
Yeah, so during COVID, I decided that I wanted to get certified, and I did that, and took all my exams and passed those. And so that's definitely opened more opportunities for me as well.
Of course, Coach Douglas, what has it been like having such a assistant coach with such young age close to your athletes?
Did you just call me old? I'm sorry. I think we need to have a little
I think he did.
Oh, I think he did. Okay. That's okay. It's been really, really helpful. And it's been one of the cool things with Olga and I is our dynamic. Not just from the age differential, but just I have to stay open-minded, right? And because I don't think it would work. In fact, I know it wouldn't work for the team or for Olga if I was just this, grumpy old man. Like, this is the way to do it, and this is the way we did it back in the day. And I've learned a lot from her. Specifically, one example is with women's doubles, college doubles. Men's doubles, particularly at the college level, is played a little differently. Basically, you get to net and you do not relinquish it. And you've got to be a little more flexible because of the length of the rallies in women's college tennis. And yes, we encourage them and push them to get up to net. But I learned from Olga that there is a little bit more of a flow even when they are at net, right? And then the whole other aspect, the off the court of social media and dealing with relationship issues and nutrition and body image and all these different things. They don't want to talk to dad about that. I just like, send it this way.
Yeah, it's nice that I'm sort of like that middle ground between where, I am a bit older than them and I do have a little bit more experience just with life in general. So I'm kind of, playing that big sister role, and then I'm able to offer, sometimes Eric comes to me and there's a situation going on, and then, he'll think of it one way, and then I'll, just given my age and my gender, I'm able to give a little bit of a different perspective. And then, and then he's like, oh, okay, I didn't think of it that way. And then that helps us, solve issues and solve problems and on and off the court as well.
Yeah.
Can you talk about, of course, how you, Coach Douglas, have built the culture, and then, of course, how you have helped build the culture?
Well, we're still in the process of that, being very honest. We came in January of last year, and the first match was 6 weeks later. So last year's message to the team was very different. I said we are not going to be concerned with wins and losses, which might be a strange thing for a coach to say, but we needed to get a feel for the team, not just talent level, but attitude level, and somewhat begin to build a culture, but it was focused more on discipline, commitment, things like this. And I don't mean that just in coaches speak. Truly, that's what we focused on, because I'm not sure that was there before the last few years. And as a result, a few players dropped off the team because it was almost as if this team was an activity they signed up for, not an NCAA sport. And that is one thing we focus. That I'm not worried about wins and losses right now, but I want you to bring that same energy and commitment level to practice that you would in a match. Now this year, once we agreed, because we only committed to get them through the spring season last year, but we really became attached to these young ladies and to the team, and we want to try and turn things around. So this year the message was very different, and we said two things about this season. The two themes, if you will, are family, and again that can be a little cliche, but family, you support each other in good times and bad, and accountability. And by that, I'll even go as specific as to say everything we do this season needs to be measurable. So after we do this podcast, we actually are having some one-on-one meetings with the team, each player, about what their goals are for this week in Hilton Head for the spring break tournament. Is it to win every match? Is it to, I want to be have a higher percentage in my second serves, whatever. And one thing I like to say is sometimes when I pose a question, I'll say there's no wrong answer, because it's what works for you, and then we work around that. But we did let them know that wins and losses are important this year, and as a team, we set a pretty aggressive standard to double our win total from last year, and we're on track right now. We're 2-3, but if we come out of this week, we have a chance to be at 500 and just keep moving from there. So, but I'll let Olga speak to that as well.
Yeah, I think, coming from Geneseo, where I played, it was, our coach was pretty hard on us, which it doesn't always work well for everybody. And so when I personally, whenever I coach tennis, I always come sort of with that balancing act of, yes, you want to, be a little bit disciplined with them and a little bit strict with them, but you also want them to enjoy it. Because I know some of my coaches growing up were a little tougher on me, and that kind of killed the joy for me a little bit every once in a while. And so, I try to, whenever I'm coaching and whenever I'm speaking with them, you set those standards, you set the discipline, but at the same time, you're also having fun. And my like number one thing as a coach is like, you got to be there to have fun. If you're not having fun, you might as well just not be there. But in order to have fun, you still got to work hard, and you got to listen, and you got to be disciplined.
Of course, starting off with you, Olga, what does a typical home meet look like as a coach for you? And then, of course, Coach Douglas, you go.
Yeah.
So typically a home match, we'll get there a little bit early to sort of set up, get chairs out, put them on the courts, get our snacks, Gatorades, all that sort of stuff. And then typically the girls are out warming up about an hour or so before the match, and they got music going, we got pump up, warm up playlist going. They're hitting, doing all their warm up that they go through. And then typically before we get started, we'll sort of do a quick little huddle, talk about the match, talk about what, we've been working on in practice, what we as coaches are sort of looking from them and during these matches. And then during the match, Eric and I are very active on the court. So, which is great that we're allowed to be on the court. So we're constantly walking around, watching, talking to them, giving them little tips, hints, advice, pumping them up as well, making sure that spirits are high. Yeah, that's really it.
Yeah. And what I like to do is just go more with reminders and pick one or two things. Because in the course of a match, this would apply to any sport, you can't have too many things in your head. It's going to boil down to just a couple of things, and so we try and pick a few reminders that maybe they've been working on during the week. But the other thing we try and do is 24-hour bubble of no negativity. So whereas let's say we have a match on a Friday, Monday I might be crushing them a little bit on come on, we got to clean this up, guys, or we've got to get these second serve percentages up. But on Thursday, that's not coming out of my mouth. It's more about good job and not telling falsehoods, but emphasizing the positive and finding things as coaches that for each player, we know what their trigger points might be. And so we either want to stay away from that or emphasizing some of the positives. We talk about find your weapon. So we'll remind them of that. Remember, use your weapon. You love that forehand cross court. You love that short angle volley, whatever it might be for the individual player. And that's kind of the fun part of tennis is that you have 6 individuals out there and you're working with not only different personalities, but playing styles and what have you.
Who are some of the teams in your conference that y'all compete against each week?
Well, our conference is fairly broad talent-wise. So on the lower end, we had schools. One school had to drop out; they couldn't really field a team. They still have other very competitive sports, but they just could not keep enough players on the tennis team. And then at the very high end, there's a school, and they do not have one American on the team. It's all internationals. I don't know about for the women's team, but we've heard their men's team that UNC, NC State, Duke will not even play them. That's how good some of these players are. They've received offers to D1 schools. We're right there in the middle of the pack. Last year, I think we came in 6th in the conference. We were picked preseason number 6 again. And our goal, if we can just exceed that by 1 spot and come in 5th out of I think it's 10 teams in the conference, 8 go to the conference. And then the other part of that is our job now, and we've made this commitment over a few years, is to just start recruiting.
Yeah.
And I think we've lost some more talented players because they look at the record and see, oh, this team hasn't been very good in years past. But just by sending a message, if we double our wins from 3 last year to 6 this year, that sends a message when we're talking to recruits, and the message to them is, come be part of this turnaround.
Of course, Coach Olga, what does the home field atmosphere feel like when teams come to your home facility?
Could you repeat that?
What does the home field atmosphere feel like when teams come to your home facility to play?
Well, so we just got some upgrades done on our facility at home. So we got new fencing, we got some new screens. We're getting our courts resurfaced later in the season.
Yeah, in May.
In May.
After the season wraps
Yep.
up, so for next year.
So there's definitely, a bit of a different feel than last season. You got newer things and it's, it's all fresh and new looking. And so it's a really good supportive atmosphere. The whole college as a whole is it's very supportive, and we always have a couple spectators at least from other sports, and and we're also right next to the softball field.
Yeah.
And what happens a lot is we'll have, they'll have a game at the same time that we have a match. And so you kind of got parents looking both ways, and, it's all, there's cheering and people get loud. So it's really fun. It's really exciting to have a home match for sure.
And softball draws more people than we do. So when they cheer, we just pretend it's for us.
Of course, what does that recruitment process look like for those prospective student athletes? And as coaches, what do you look at in those prospective student athletes?
We're right in that in the middle of that now to try and get those players who maybe haven't made that final commitment. One of the I'd say the top three things. Number one that I lead with is actually about the financial aid. And Meredith has a wonderful merit scholarship program. So right off the bat, if you're an incoming freshman and you've maintained a 3.0 GPA throughout high school, you receive a $22,000 merit scholarship right off the bat. So yes, we're D3 and we can't offer athletic scholarships, but that's pretty significant to be able to send not only to a prospect or recruit, but to their parents, that message. Number two, we are about 5-6 weeks away from groundbreaking on a $2.1 million tennis and softball complex that will have new locker rooms, a players lounge, study hall, a nutrition center, a training room. Those kind of things help a lot. And then as Olga mentioned, the fact we're getting the court resurfaced, those are things as a young senior in high school, when you're looking like, wow, these facilities are really nice. And then the other aspect is our proximity and relationship with North Carolina State and being in the city of Raleigh. Some of these other schools, we've talked to some of the players, some of the foreigners, they come and let's just say they may not be in Goldsboro, but they're not far. They're not in Raleigh or Charlotte, and that's a huge advantage for us.
Yeah.
I mean, wow, we have a Whole Foods literally across the street from the campus, and there's the Carolina Hurricanes play there. And back to the NC State relationship, students at Meredith can take 25% of their course load at State and have it transferable. So they get that big school atmosphere. They can go tailgate. They can go to even though we joke Meredith football is undefeated. We've never lost a football game. Okay, yeah.
We don't
have a football game. So, but they get to go have fun at the NC State games and tailgate and have that big college experience, but with the intimacy of a small school.
Right.
So those I think are the selling points for us as a recruiter. And final thing, and not to embarrass you, but I really play up Olga and make it a priority for her to be on these calls with me, maybe not the first call, because again, I want these players to know they've got, I don't want to say a big sister, but somewhat of a big sister role.
Right.
That even on this trip here already, that one of the players texted her and said, hey, could you talk to Coach Eric about this, because they might be a little intimidated. Again, sometimes I wear the dad, role a little too hard, but, so, and that goes back to our dynamic and being able to talk through things.
Of course, first starting off with you, Olga, what does it look like for those freshmen getting to put on that Meredith uniform for the first time?
Well, this is our second season with Meredith. And so since we came in pretty late into the season last year, or into the school year rather, we weren't able to do much recruiting. True. But we did have two new girls. One was a freshman and one is actually a grad student from another university. So in a way, she's also kind of a freshman, because she's new to us. And, it was definitely nice to have fresh faces. And, it was nice to, see them come onto campus and kind of watch their personality come out a little bit more, because they were, especially a little freshman. She was definitely very shy in the beginning.
A little intimidated.
A little intimidated, but, as the season's gone on, she's definitely opened up, and, it's just exciting to see them in, the uniforms and the hoodies and the apparel and all the stuff we have. But I think, this upcoming season will kind of, or I guess next year's season will kind of be that first season where we have true recruits and we were able to, actually have those recruits. So we'll get back to you on that question next season.
Actually, we did do something last year because of a couple of players dropping off and we were thin. We held tryouts almost mid-season, meaning in the beginning of the spring season, and 2 volleyball players. We picked up 3 new players, and the energy they brought and the attitude from playing on the volleyball team really lifted things up, and that was encouraging. So yeah.
Of course, what will it feel like to get to see those seniors put on that uniform for the last time?
Oh, well, we only have one senior this year, and we're already starting to plan that out.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be honest, it's going to be a little emotional because
For sure.
she just came on last year. She won the coaches award last year. That's how impactful she was. Hannah Jo Jablonski, and we call her JoJo, and she just brings an energy to this team. I wish we could have had her all 4 years. We weren't here for 4 years, but then next year we have 3 players that'll be graduating, and they will have been with us for 3 years. And I can see, as tough as I might be on them, I do have a soft spot for them very much, and it's gonna be a little emotional.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we didn't have any seniors last year, so.
Yeah, we didn't go through it.
No.
So.
Of course, what are some of the things that y'all have both been able to accomplish so far throughout your coaching time?
Well, I think for me, a big thing was just getting professionally certified. Because it was, again, like something that I wasn't really planned, but then I was like, let's do it. And, the exams were a little tough. I had to study and everything and go through those, but that is a big accomplishment of mine for sure, because it has opened doors to, more coaching and stuff. And then now I do have dreams of, hopefully one day being a Division I coach and kind of going down that path. So I think that's for me the biggest thing.
So, and also just, I'll speak, she's being very modest about things. Olga has a degree in mathematics and has a pretty high profile job in the finance world. So here she talks about, a dream of being a D1 coach. I think I may go dad mode on her on that and say, stay in the finance world and keep coaching at the D3 level. The biggest accomplishment for me last year was the fact that every parent of every player reached out to us either in person or via email and thanked us. They saw the structure and the discipline that we instilled, and they said for the first time it was like a real team, and that meant a lot. And I knew I said I know I was tough on them. They're like, no, they needed it because they're playing an NCAA sport. And I think we finally got that through, that this isn't just like, I'm going to sign up for Pilates and I'm going to take a yoga class. Oh, tennis? Okay, yeah, let's play tennis. That'd be fun. No, I tell them, you are a member of a club that the University of Alabama football team is also a member of that same club.
Right.
The Meredith lacrosse team that's won 9 conference championships, you're a member of that club.
In a row.
And in a row, exactly. And you need to hold yourself to that kind of standard. And the wins will come. And again, I know that's coach speak. They will come, but you've got to lay the discipline and the commitment in first. So that to me was where the measurable success was.
What advice would y'all give for the first time people going in as freshmen?
Honestly, yeah, I just go back to have fun. I mean, you gotta, especially at the Division III level where you don't get those athletic scholarships, you gotta really do it because you enjoy it, not because mom wants you to or because it's something that you feel like you should do, but it's something that you actually want to do. And what I found personally is that usually the fun comes with the hard work. If you're there because you love the sport, you are willing to work hard and listen and really stay on top of things. But if you're not, if you feel like you're being forced or somebody's pushing you to do it and you don't really want to, it usually doesn't work out. So I guess my biggest piece of advice would be to do it for the right reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And really embrace your team. Like
Yeah.
a trip like this, as much fun as it is, hey, we're here in Hilton Head, South Carolina for a spring break tournament. As much fun as that is, last night we attended the welcome dinner, and just the photos. We had all the girls, they were piled in on a hammock, taking fun and falling over. And those are the things that are going to make, when they reflect back on their
Journey.
playing tennis in college,
Yeah.
that's what they're going to remember.
For sure.
I actually have another role at the college where I'm the director of strategic giving for athletics. So my background has been in fundraising. And as I've gotten to know the alumni, and specifically those ladies that played on the tennis team, they talk about more about almost the off-court stuff than the matches themselves. And they're still in touch with their teammates. So that's what we would talk to the freshmen about. Have fun, be committed, and make memories.
Yeah, like going back to my college days, I mean, I can tell you what our record was. I can't remember which teams we beat and we lost, but I do remember some of like the bus rides and the stays at the hotels and stuff like that. So
yeah, and that's particularly for incoming freshmen. That's fun stuff.
What advice would you give those players that are looking to play on the ATP tournament or even internationally?
That's a quick answer. Not going to happen.
Yeah, typically if you're at the D3 level, it's I don't know if anybody's ever really made that transition from. I mean, Division 1 to professional is already difficult, but Division 3 to professional is.
We have a saying on this team:
no.
Harsh or honest. They both start with H, and so that might be a little harsh, but it's honest. There's no advice to be given, or one word: don't, because it's not gonna happen. Sorry. Sorry, not sorry.
Yeah.
What advice would you give those future players out there looking to get into coaching like y'all have?
Oh, that's I'm gonna
let Olga take that one.
Looking to get into coaching.
Well, we have that one young lady who reached out to us who wants to.
That's right. Well, I think that my first piece of advice is to make sure you really know what you're talking about. I know that I learned coaching from observing other coaches around me and what they say to kids and how they speak. And, and these are people that have been coaching for decades. And so definitely know your stuff. And then I think once you know your stuff, it's a lot easier to teach it and coach it. And it just makes it more fun because then you're not constantly worried about am I saying the right thing or am I doing it the right way? But so I guess I would say that. And then again, do it because you love it. With I think athletic coaching in general, well, kind of what you were saying about my finance job is, I'll be very honest, I know I can definitely make a lot more money in the finance world than I can in the coaching world, but I do coach because I love it. It makes me excited. I don't view it as going to work or going to a job. I do it because I love it and I enjoy the sport and I enjoy watching it and teaching it and coaching it. So definitely.
Yeah, and if I had any piece of advice, it would be find your style.
Oh, that's a good one.
Because otherwise it's going to be boring. To the kids. For sure. Everyone of course going to say keep your eye on the ball. Extend through with your backhand. Okay, whatever. How do you get through to someone? And usually, for me, it's usually bad dad jokes. And they get the point. And I try and make it fun, and then you make that individual connection with them.
Of course, for you, Coach Douglas, what advice would you give those people that are looking to become head coaches and run their own program?
Well, I would just say you need to find if you're a natural leader, if you're comfortable in that role. You can't be intimidated. And actually, I'll give an example. Olga was also. Or still is the head coach at a private prep school in Raleigh. And she took that position last year when she was just a year or so out of college.
I was still in college.
Still in college. So very intimidating. and she would ask me about a few things, but I'm going to let you speak to that about the role, even though it was high school, dealing with the parents and dealing with seniors that you were just a few years older than.
It was a bit of a shock for sure. And I found myself, doubting myself and thinking, am I cut out for this? Yeah, can I do this? Is this too much for me? Am I meant to be in this position? And I definitely stumbled my way through the first season. There's a lot of things that if I could go back, I definitely would have done differently or gone about differently. But you learn a lot in like your first season or your first year, and you take that with you. And I think it was a great opportunity to see if I'm able to be in that position. And I guess another piece of advice is like, don't get discouraged just because something doesn't work out in the first couple of weeks and it's just not working. That doesn't mean you're not meant to be a coach. You got to learn and you got to figure things out and learn how to adapt and how to grow and how to learn from others.
Fun fact, your favorite term. So Olga took this high profile job in the finance world, wearing business suits and, almost then changing, at 4 p.m. into her tennis gear. So she wasn't sure she was going to be able to keep the job with the high school as head coach. And she was running things by me. Do you think I can do this? What on days if I have a meeting, I can't tell them I have to leave because I'm coaching a high school team. And who knows where this came from. But I said, well, I tell you what, why don't I step in? And I'll be your assistant coach. And she was like, what?
Yeah.
And so when back at the top of this interview, I said kind of a fun, weird dynamic. It really is. So for 3 months this fall, she was my boss and I was the assistant coach. And even the parents
were like, what?
And it was really interesting. In our first meeting, after we laid everything out about the season and expectations, questions started firing at me. And I said, talk to the head coach.
Yeah.
And she did it. And just is a great, natural leader. And either you find that or not. But just that was a funny another thing of how well we work together.
And I appreciate that as a woman, and it's a woman who is younger. Typically in general, guys and somebody that's obviously older than me, people kind of tend to resort to that person, even though title wise, like Eric said, I was technically his boss. And I appreciate that Eric lets me have, my position and my stance and lets me make decisions and doesn't just like, oh yeah, whatever, like you have your opinion. And he really lets me, make my own decisions and helps me when I ask to, but also lets me, be the one to make those decisions too.
Oh, I think there were times she wished I would make the decision.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
You're the head coach. You got to make the call.
For sure.
So it was good. It was good.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find y'all at on social media along with the Meredith tennis program at?
Well, the Meredith program is www.goavengingangels.com. So goavengingangels.com. And then I'm all over social media. Oh, wait, no, I'm not.
But we do have an Instagram, and it's Meredith_tennis. So that's our official Instagram page where we post, matches, any fundraising that we're doing, any other events, things like that. So.
Thank you again, Coach Eric and Coach Olga, for your interview, and best luck in your future with the tennis program.
All right.
Thank you so much.
You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.